Mm.
Hello, Tony, you there?
Hey, Wayne,
What's up?
how are you?
I'm doing fine here. I'm trying to get the gist of what it is we think we're going to go accomplish here today. Just kind of get organized, I'm assuming.
Yeah, when everybody gets on, I would want to try to help explain that. I think, this is the first of many meetings, so just kind of getting our ducks in a row as far as, game plan for meeting schedule and process. I think
Right.
A couple members on the committee are fairly new to the process, so getting them familiar with that. Any residents on board looking to hear about it, will hear that from us tonight. And
Are we looking to do something for town meeting with this committee?
yeah, I mean, obviously the time frame is really tight. So maybe it'll be, the committee will have to through its process kind of figure out if that's going to be possible.
All right. So it's part of the conversation at least.
Yes, hurry.
Hi, Marie.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good.
Hello, Marie. I'm Wayne Wilson over here in the corner.
Hey Wayne, how are you?
Building
Nice to meet
department
you.
on my box here. I'm on my town iPad.
Very good.
Hey guys, Rob Thibault here.
Hi, Rob.
Hello, Robert.
Good evening.
Hi, Rob.
Good evening.
I know John Coulon is on vacation still, so just waiting for Steve to join.
Okay.
I'm here, Tony. I'm unfortunately on my phone, so I'm not home now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, Wayne. How you doing?
Good.
Dan Scripps on the line too. Dan, do you mind unmuting yourself?
I'm here for about a half hour, guys. I have to go to a planning board meeting. At 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah, and so does Steve. This meeting is going to be, it's going to have to shut down by like 6:15 because
Yep, that's
the
fine.
planning board's meeting starts at, I think, 6:30.
Tony, 6 o'clock, I think.
No, I think it's 6:30.
All right, I'll check. You guys keep going.
The email I got said 6:30.
Okay.
So we got the Zoom for an hour.
Yeah.
My posting, Tony, is 6 o'clock, but I can send them an email
Oh, yeah,
and
it says
tell them I'll be joining at 6:30.
Well, they're going to be joining in this format, aren't we not? Well, let's just and we won't be. We don't. If we're only going to get organized here, we probably don't really need to take a lot of time.
Yeah. So the members of this committee are the building inspector, Wayne Wilson, the health inspector, John Coulon, a member of the planning board, which was is Steve Viviano, who is appointed by the planning board, and then two residents, which is Marie Platikova and Robert Thibault. We had this committee was formed by town meeting last year. The town put up a posting asking residents if they were interested. There's quite a few people, applicants that were interested. We had, a good amount of meetings and interviews, and Marie and Rob ended up taking those two spots. I think this board, there are folks on this on this board that may have not been part of a committee before. So, I wanted to get you guys together to talk about what your process is and maybe discuss as a group, how often you're going to meet, what the schedule looks like for this year's town meeting, generally kind of talk about, the scope of what this committee is going to work on. And obviously, there's a lot of people here, a lot of public interested in what, this committee's doing, which is great. Being able to get public input over the course of your process is going to be extremely helpful. For those on the call, we created an email account that's on the short-term rental committee's landing page on our website. And that any email sent to that address will get forwarded to all 5 members of this committee. So at any point, you can, send an email in for the committee to look at, and, they will have that as part of their public process. So just keeping an eye on some of the chat, some of the comments in the chat. So we have a lot to do. Well, you have a lot to do. I'm here to help you, and Dan Scripp is here to help you as well. You have a lot to do in short amount of time. Should a recommendation be possible to be considered at this year's town meeting? It really kind of depends on what those recommendations are and if they trigger any type of other extended procedure prior to getting to town meeting floor. Your committee doesn't actually determine, you guys don't have the authority to create bylaws on your own. What your committee is going to do is provide recommendations for the town that ultimately it would be voted on by town meeting. If there's any, as I said, if you end up making a recommendation that somehow triggers zoning or anything that would fall potentially under the planning board's review, that adds a level of procedure that probably we don't have enough time to go through before this year's town meeting. But, not everything needs to be figured out before town meeting. Obviously that would be good, but we have, you want to make sure you get it done right. You want to make sure you come up with, recommendations that are practical and take into consideration the public comment and look at what other communities are doing along the same lines. So we have some scheduling. I think we were just trying to get this meeting scheduled. Kristen was reaching out to each of you individually, trying to figure out what your best schedule was. As you can tell here, there's a lot of people from the town, residents that are interested in what you're going to be doing. So I think, step one for tonight's meeting is to kind of talk as a group about, what your schedule is going to look like. I think it would be, I think it would be helpful to be as consistent as possible. So in other words, if it's every Tuesday or every other Tuesday or, Tuesdays and Thursdays or at the same time, try to remain consistent because that's always easiest for scheduling. And once you figure that out, Kristen and I can help schedule, reserve your time slots on either one of our Zoom accounts. And then I can show you how you actually schedule those meetings through our website, which is a new
All right,
process.
so we talk about that for just a second?
Yeah.
I mean, all this Zoom stuff is convenient, I guess, for lack of a better description, but in person, sitting around a table is so much better. I mean, we've lifted the mask mandate, or it would appear that we have. Can't we just get away from this at this point in time? I mean, I personally be sitting at a table in the
Sure.
town hall, obviously, and doing this,
Sure.
face to face. I mean, it's kind of
So
a nuisance.
so having the ability to meet by Zoom is allowed under state law that currently expires in April. There's a lot of talk at the state level about extending that deadline. So if it doesn't get extended, then come April, you'll be required to meet in person. Right now, you have the option. We as a town haven't allowed indoor meetings quite yet because of the public health risk. The problem with public meetings versus an organized event, so to speak, is you never know how many people are going to attend. You can't turn anybody away. Making sure that it's that the public health is in mind, and making sure that there's enough space and public distance and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Has been, a concern of ours. I can tell you though, like you just said, with lifting the mask mandate just on Friday, it's something that we're talking about and considering consistently. There are, a few committees that have been asking, when could we potentially start meeting in person again? So for now, all committees are going to continue to meet by Zoom, but it may change in the near future.
Okay. All right. So if I'm going to make a suggestion, I mean, it seems to me that we need to kind of get things moving. And so if we were to say, let's do it like every other Tuesday, if Tuesday is a good evening for people, I think every other week we should definitely do something, and that gives us 2 weeks in between to do homework, if you will. And I mean, I'd make that suggestion. I don't know what other people's schedules look like on Tuesdays.
That works for me. Every other Tuesday would work. If we can make it 6 p.m. or later, that would be even better.
Fine too. But that would depend again on the Zoom account stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got school committee we're competing with at least on occasion here on Tuesdays.
All right.
Right.
So
So the school committee's meeting tonight. I think they meet every other Tuesday.
is there another day of the week that avoids other conflicts, that's like more open than Tuesday? I mean,
Well, maybe
not difference to us.
if you alternate though, so if you meet next Tuesday and then every other Tuesday, you're on the off, you're on the
Right.
you're meeting in between school committee if Tuesday works. Only thing is planning board. Steve, do you know is there a standard schedule for planning board? Is it every other Tuesday?
Yeah, we have done first and third Tuesday, and traditionally they have kicked off at 6, and they've gone for hours sometimes, but typically at 6 o'clock to 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes earlier.
All right, so maybe you guys go second and fourth. So if you were to do that, you'd meet next week, the 22nd, and then you'd go to the 8th, and then the 22nd, do every other Tuesday, but starting next week.
If it works for the Zoom stuff, then it works for me. I mean, again, I don't know who else.
Yeah, I
wants to
think that
come in.
works.
Works for me, yeah.
I think that
What
would
day
work.
better? Is there another day of the week that works better for someone else here? No?
I'm comfortable with Tuesdays, Wayne.
All right. No, it's fine with me. I said, give everyone a chance to speak up.
Yep.
If Tuesday is good, and let's just put something together. Worst case scenario, we change the schedule, right? It's not etched in
Right.
stone.
Okay.
So at least we know when we're gonna be doing something, and we're not sending out emails on a daily basis, trying to figure out who's available on what day.
Oh, also, I said we created an email account. I didn't say what it was. So it's strc@nahant.org. So that's short-term rental committee, strc@nahant.org. And like I said, a link to that will be on your landing page on our website.
And that's going to copy everybody, right, Tony?
Right. If somebody sends an email to that account, it'll be forwarded to each of your individual emails.
Okay, so I know that this quorum stuff is an issue. Is what is or is not appropriate for each one of us members to send to that same email? Just
So
stuff.
you're a 5-member board. So you have a little bit more leeway than, say, a 3-member board, because you need 3 members to make a quorum. But you should still be very careful. We had an open meeting law training last week, which that video, I think it should be uploaded onto our website. If it's not, I'll make sure.
I think it's still right.
If it isn't, I'll make sure it's on there and I'll forward it out to you guys. But it was a great training that talked a lot about the open meeting law and, what the do's and don'ts are for, a board like your size. You really don't want to be deliberating policy via email or when you have a quorum. So anything like that should be done in a public meeting setting.
All right, let me just give you a few minutes. Right, we have had sent to us already like links to other cities and towns, references to this short-term rental stuff. So if one of us was, be in the computer and investigating, and we wanted to distribute information that came from another source, that's okay, because it's not a deliberation, it's just information. Is that
right?
sound?
If you, that's fine. But if you found Swampscott's bylaws and sent them to the committee and said, I really like these.
No. I mean,
that comment is the open meeting law violation. So just
okay.
sharing
No,
it,
I'm seeing
say,
just
hey,
for
take a
purposes.
Yep. Hey, take a look and we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm saying. We can send each other information and we can't comment on it.
Right.
Does that sound reasonable? A reasonable interpretation?
Exactly.
That's safe.
Exactly.
All right.
So you'll be required, to post your meetings. We can help you with that. But you should designate one of your committee members to be in charge of, posting the agenda and writing out meeting minutes. Meeting minutes, that was also discussed in the training. It tends to be a daunting task, but it's really not that bad. You're generally capturing the discussion so that if somebody wasn't at the meeting, they could have a general understanding of what was discussed. And then you're transcribing really any votes that occur. So, who made a motion, what the motion was, who seconded it, and then the roll call following up. Those are the types of things that would be included in your minutes.
Right. And the recording of these meetings doesn't satisfy that requirement?
Correct. It doesn't
Right.
satisfy it, but they will be available online as a supplementary option for people to go back and review.
Okay. Anyone want to jump in and volunteer? Wow, don't everyone put your hand up at once.
I got it.
Rob, you're pretty good. I feel like you'd be a good candidate for that.
I got it. Yep.
Kristen has a great template for meeting minutes too. So I'll have her
Send it
send
to us.
that out to you.
I think we've got it, Tony. I think she sent it to us a couple days ago.
Great. So, Rob, if you can at some point this week, stop by and I'll show you, you know, how you get your meetings posted through the clerk.
Very good.
That's a pretty simple task as well.
Tony, before the night is out, this board should elect a chair before the next meeting.
Okay. So your next task, you guys should elect a chair. I mean, I think that could they put that on the agenda for the next meeting, Dan?
Sure.
This is really their first, you know, this is really their first meeting as a group to talk about what they're doing and, you know, generally what the scope of their mission is. I can understand if it would be a lot of pressure to elect a chairman so quickly. But
Yeah,
I think we can do it at the next meeting.
When committees begin, there are three things they really need to do. Or not should they need to do, should do. One is to identify themselves, but in this case, they already have a name, right? The Short-Term Rental Bylaw Advisory Committee. It's already there by town meeting. The second thing is set a mandate, but that's already done for them by Article 28 of the last town meeting. And the third thing is to elect the chair. And next meeting is fine, but that's one of the things that should be done early on.
Okay. So the chairman's role is essentially to, you know, moderate the process. You know, you're calling the meeting to action. You're walking through the agenda. You actually hold the responsibility of determining what is or isn't on the agenda. And when a vote or a motion or an action by the committee comes up, you usher that through by, you know, dictating, okay, who made the motion, calling out the roll call. One thing that's unique to meeting virtually is you have to do all votes by roll call. So if a motion was on the floor and seconded, your chairman would take a roll call by saying, you know, Wayne Wilson, and then Wayne Wilson would say his vote. Marie Hladakova, and then Marie would say her vote. You know, so you can't just say all in favor, aye. You have to actually roll call through.
That sounds fine. That's easy enough.
Yeah, you get the hang of it.
All right. So can we jump back to Article 28 of town meeting?
Yes.
I think I must have missed that one. Someone, can we get a Reader's Digest version of what this committee has been,
Yeah, it's
what our mandate
a
is?
short article. It's a short article. I'll read it to you. To see if the town will form a 5-member short-term rental bylaw advisory committee consisting of the building inspector, the health agent, 1 member of the planning board, and 2 Nahant citizens appointed by the town administrator. 1, to develop draft bylaws regulating short-term rentals pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 64G, Section 14. And 2, to present those draft bylaws at a future town meeting or take any other action relative thereto. Said committee shall dissolve on June 30th, 2024, or upon completion of task 1 and 2.
Got it.
So I probably had more conversation with the 2 citizens than I did you, Wayne, John, or Steve, because, you know, through that process of picking who to appoint, we talked a lot about, you know, what this committee is going to do. And you already hit on one of the biggest items is, you know, number one, taking a look at what other communities have in place for bylaws. And reviewing those and finding out, what of those bylaws make sense for the town of Nahant. And understanding, the demographics of those communities, and what type of issues they were, taking on at the time. The short-term rental issue has been a hot topic for a while now, a lot of which because of the impact they've had on like the hotel industry. Obviously, short-term rentals here in Nahant, there are no hotels. They're not pulling business away from other local business. So that's not really a driving issue here. The bigger issue here is, what type of registration would be required of them at the local level? What type of elements involved, regarding the property,
Parking.
working fire alarms, things like that, parking, other types of concerns or comments that we're getting from the public that might be worth putting in the recommendation. And then understanding the town's, the town of Nahant's limitations, as far as not having a full-time enforcing agent of these issues, or even a full-time administrator in the town hall to be, accepting applications for local registration and reviewing those applications. So there's a practicality element, I think, in your review of what other communities do and how it fits into what the town of Nahant can do. But I think, step one would be doing just that, looking at what other communities do. Obviously, a huge component of this is public input. So giving the public opportunity to provide, their comments of, pros and cons regarding Airbnbs, and having you guys, analyze those and figure out how that potentially would fit into your recommendation.
So let me jump in again for a second. So, just my concerns as a building inspector and zoning officer is that my primary concern is just the safety of the people that would be renting these units. But that's my number one thing. I would hate to see someone renting a room and it's, some basement room with no egress, and, people will rent anything, and someone will be happy to pay for that. If if I could be near the beach for a weekend or something, I could, but, obviously, the safety of the people that would be the customers, I guess is the lack of a better term, the renter or rentee. I don't know which one is which, but anyway, that's my concern with all this Airbnb stuff. Remember, we had the bed and breakfast conversation a few years back, and were we going to make up some rules for bed and breakfast situations? And again, even back then, it was like my primary concern was you've got someone in your home that they don't know where they are. When a fire alarm goes off or a smoke alarm goes off, they're going to be very disoriented. I just want to make sure that these people can get out of a building. That's one of my first.
Let me dovetail off of that. Wayne, let me just dovetail off of that and say that the first responders are at risk here also.
Oh, absolutely. But again, there's a reason why there's a plaque on every door in a hotel that says you are here and this is the way to go, to get out of a place in the case of a fire. And you know, in most structures are pretty simple in that, you know, they're mostly single family homes. It shouldn't be that complicated. But, you know, occasionally you're going to have something that's might be a little more involved. So that would be my concern. You know, obviously, you know, smoke alarms, fire alarms, obviously would need to be up to date and working and so forth. And then again, you've got the question of what are we renting? What is being rented? Is it a whole house? Is it a portion of a house at like a half of a 2-family, or is it just a room? And I guess, and again, there's all these different components as to what, you know, we already have zoning bylaws that talk about how many rooms one can rent, which, you know, it's a concern here. So those are the things that I'm looking at. One, to comply with our existing bylaws or change the existing bylaws. Pick one. Maybe that's a possibility. And then you know, make it so that everything is safe. I don't have any personal thought on, you know, oh, we have to prohibit this. I don't think prohibiting it is where we want to be. I probably can't do it anyway. In the city of New York, you got to figure out how to get rid of Airbnb. I'm sure the town of Nahat's not going to be able to do it.
Well, Dan Scrip is available to you as far as, you know, those legal questions about how it fits in with current bylaws or zoning, and, you know, if that would require a change or how new rules would, you know, integrate with existing. So Dan's and those definition questions about room versus house and things of that nature. So Dan's definitely available to you guys to help with that.
I can say two things right now. You guys are going to have to look at, and Wayne and I have gone through this, and Tony and I have gone through this right up the street from Town Hall. Lodgers versus roomers versus Airbnb folks. That is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, I think it's 9.04 in the bylaws somewhere, Wayne. But that's something you'll need to look at to sort of make sure everything is consistent. And you guys might want to take a look at I think it's the city of Linfield. They had tragically a death at an Airbnb. So they really jumped ahead of the ordinances and bylaws in terms of controlling Airbnb. So that might be a good resource to start. That actually will turn into a lawsuit at some point or another. So that might be a good place to look at some source information. Manchester by the Sea has some examples, and you can find them around the Commonwealth.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to be able to, you know, kind of go out there and do some research.
Yep.
See what other communities are up to. I know Linfield banned any rentals less than 30 days at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know what state that's in right now. I'm guessing that was probably appealed, or, you know, by Airbnb or someone similar.
I'll tell you what, Wayne, I'll find the case law and I'll send it to you, and I'll leave it to you to share with your fellow board members.
For you know, folks that are listening in tonight, so the town of Nahant currently, there is no requirement, you know, there are no bylaws regarding B&Bs current, and there's no registration with the town. You should, as Airbnbs or short-term rentals, you know, should be registered with the state. We do collect a local option tax on top of those rentals, so it does provide a source of revenue for the town. But we don't know, you know, we don't know exactly where these exist. We have an idea, but we don't have the exact location, because there actually is no current process for a short-term rental to register with the town. So that's something that, you know, we need to, you know, establish that administrative process as well.
Sure.
Maybe it would be helpful if the members of the committee could, announce themselves and maybe give like a quick little perspective or, background of themselves. And Wayne, you kind of just talked a little bit about it. Wayne Wilson, being the building inspector in town, brings, a level of expertise that is going to be very valuable to this committee, I think, in being so familiar with code and the zoning laws and being the enforcement officer. John Coulon, who's our health inspector and health agent, is also going to bring a great deal of expertise when it comes to, the public health living conditions of a space. Marie, do you want to say a couple words about yourself?
Yep, sure. My name is Marie Hladikova. I am a Nahant resident and I'm a host of Airbnb or short-term rentals. I'm also somebody who actually have used short-term rentals, Airbnb and Vrbo, quite a few of times. And, I share the same, concerns as Wayne does, right? So as, as an owner or even somebody who used Airbnb, you want to make sure that there's some basic element of safety, that everything works. The other concerns that I'd like to address is parking in Nahant, right? The folks who host Airbnbs need to have off-street parking. Then sometimes what also comes up is nuisance of noise. So, determining to what level we allow parties or gatherings at those venues is another concern. And then, just see what other communities do in terms of sharing best practices and developing some reasonable regulations for Nahant. So those would be my, concerns, suggestions. That's what I, plan to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, Rob Thibault. I recently retired from Middle Oak Insurance Company. I manage the loss control department. We are a specialist in commercial habitational, so we are very up to date as far as NFPA requirements on safety on apartments and hotels, motels. So I think I could probably contribute a little bit there. We also have a background as far as call firefighter here in Nahant for over 25 years, so I'm pretty familiar with how a lot of the homes in town are set up, and looking forward to helping out in any way we can.
Thank you, Rob. Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Hi, guys. Steve Viviano, resident of Nahant for just over 30 years. Have knowledge and interest in Airbnb and long-term rental units, some experience with both. Currently, I am a full-time firefighter in the city of Revere. I, again, reside in Nahant. I also have some work in construction. I have my construction supervisor's license, so not anything to compare to Wayne, but I can be some assistance to that. And yeah, I'm kind of with the team here. I think that this could be, this should be something town input is weighed in on, could be something great. I think it should first and foremost, like anything, be something safe. I was going to say, Tony, perhaps a takeaway from today's meeting as we near the finish line here, we could all, whoever's got some skill, we could go out and put some homework assignments on each other. I think some useful information would be other cities and towns bylaws. I think we should maybe task somebody, or if we all want to collectively go on Airbnb's website itself and see, what exactly, I don't even know what they require a host to do. I'm not exactly sure if, can you rent just a room in your house? Can you rent, as Wayne said, the basement, which sounds pretty scary. So if Airbnb isn't doing a good job at policing what people are renting out, sounds like we should step up to the plate and do so ourselves. So again, perhaps as the meeting winds down, we can all formulate something, nothing to deliberate upon via email, but we could, task, say, gathering some information from outside towns. And Tony, maybe from you, the revenue stream. You know, of course, it's always great to get paid, so it'd be good to know what the town can profit from it, and, you know, maybe how we can have this coexist and be a beneficial thing for everybody. And I didn't mention, but as I was introduced, I've been on the planning board for 5 years now.
Yeah, I think, hey, Marie, do you mind maybe taking on that homework assignment as being a host of short-term rental? You probably could, you know, brief the other members of the committee at the next meeting as to like what that process is and what type of things you're required to do to rent your property through that.
Sure, yep. No problem, I'll do that.
That's a good
And
point.
perhaps
Steve.
like Wayne said, you know, he could, or I'd be happy to, if Wayne was unavailable, dig into the code book and, you know, pull requirements out, you know, such as egress windows and all of that. We wouldn't want someone, if someone has an existing house and there's a room being, you know, there's a room that doesn't have egress windows, but they use it as a bedroom, if they're now renting that out, that's a whole different story. So, you know, as we move forward, it sounds like we're going to set some requirements for these facilities potentially. So, you know, maybe knowing what the requirements should be according to the Mass Building Code would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm curious what other towns do in that regard. I bet you, I'm assuming instead of just, you know, picking and choosing what elements of the code, you know, or rewriting them all, I'm assuming they just reference it and, you know, might require some sort of inspection or, you know, sign off of compliance of some sort. But I'm interested to see what other communities do in that regard too. So do you want to open it up for some citizens forum? Again, you know, for those on the call, you know, tonight, you know, you don't feel like you have to push, you know, a policy tonight. There's going to be many from going forward. And, you know, as I think what you're hearing from the members of the committee is you have perspectives from every side. You know, I find, you know, hosts of short-term rentals, you know, tend to be almost the best enforcement officers of them all because, you know, they value the opportunity to be able to participate in that. So I'm sure, you know, many folks on the call that, you know, might host short-term rentals would have some good perspective and input to provide this committee. And then I know that there are a lot of folks in town that have many concerns as well. So, you know, finding a way to marry the two is going to be your task as a committee.
All right. Can I ask a Zoom question?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm on my iPad and I can see Dan and yourself and Marie and this sign that Joe Mal's got in place, but I can't see anyone else. Should I be able to see anyone else?
It's
Like,
I'm not sure how on an iPad, I probably can't. There should be a gallery option somewhere in your menu.
All right. Well, I can get a list of participants. It tells me that there's 41. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Oh, all right. You're right, but I don't see, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Maybe I can do something else. Oh, yeah, now I have a whole bunch of people.
There you go.
All right.
So we probably got like, you know, 5 or 10 minutes. We'll open it up for some comments or questions. Again, you know, we'll try to get through as many as we can, but please know that, you know, we'll be meeting again next Tuesday. So there is someone with their hand raised, but it just says iPhone on my screen. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, this is Sarah Christie from 66 Ocean Street. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just have a question about timeline. So we do host an Airbnb out of our home, but we have removed our listing. We do it seasonally, so I guess my concern is I don't want to, as a host, take any reservations for people, say for this next summer, if something would be put on the warrant for town meeting and then something might be happen that I would have to cancel. So can somebody just give me an idea of like how that timeline works? If something's voted on in May, does it like immediately go into force and, anything that didn't match that has to be canceled, or is there some, I guess, delay?
That's a great question. I think it's almost too early to be able to answer that, but it's
Sure.
a good comment for the committee to consider, when they put together recommendations, that they put like a date by which they would start, kind of sunset them in a way, so it doesn't impact existing reservations negatively.
Right,
It's something
and the
something for
income
them to
that's coming
consider.
into the town,
Yeah.
for those kind of more seasonal or, summer rentals.
It's a
Hey,
good
Tony, I can
comment.
add to that a little bit.
Go ahead.
So the first thing that has to happen is draft bylaws have to put on the warrant. There's no promise that that's going to happen, given that town meeting is just 2.5 months away, actually less than that. So there's that aspect of it. And even if it gets on the warrant, gets past that town meeting, it's still got to go to the state, to the AG's office for a review. And that could take up to 2 months or so. And then the clerk has to publish and post the approval that would come from the AG if the bylaw is acceptable, and they likely would be. Now, as Tony mentioned, that could be that's the earliest possible time the bylaw could take effect. So it will not take effect on the day of town meeting. That just doesn't work that way, unless it's a zoning thing, which it's not. So you have some time, as Tony mentioned, there could be a sunset provision like we did with the plastic bags here in town to give folks another 90 days or whatever to comply.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate the information now, and if anything more comes up in the future, I'd just be interested for heads up, just for kind of practical purposes in future meetings. But thank you very much.
Thank you. And if for anyone else that may want to speak, you should announce your name and your address like she did. That was well done. Thank you. All right, I have someone else with their hand raised.
Yeah, hi, that's probably me, Rebecca Flacker, 345 Nahant Road.
Yes.
Just following up a little bit on Sarah, I'm also hosting in my kind of second apartment. The general idea of this committee, because Sarah sounded kind of negative about it, the general idea is not to shut short-term rentals down. That's what I understand, but to get an idea, to get bylaws, to make it safe for everybody, and hopefully find a way that all the people, and I think it's a lot, quite a lot by now, who host, stick to the rules, make sure their guests do, so that the town gets the revenue. We obviously, get the rent and pay our mortgages or whatsoever. So hopefully it's not about shutting it all down, but really making good rules so that both, like, everybody kind of wins with this system. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. I think that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we receive a lot of complaints here at the town hall about Airbnbs. And I can say that anytime I've been able to, connect with the homeowner and talk to them about that complaint, they've always been responsive and have said, you
Yeah.
know, that's the last thing I want is to be making my neighbors upset. You know, whatever, sometimes I've even had an instance where a host or a homeowner has asked me to, you know, give them something in writing that they can forward on to their future guests to show them that, you know, it's being watched, so to speak. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that the goal of this committee is to prevent Airbnbs. I think it's to come up with practical rules that allow for Airbnbs to occur in town in a way that doesn't negatively impact the characteristics of the town or, you know, the other residents' ability to enjoy their property as well.
Absolutely, no, and I get that, and I think that's what we should do, have these rules, and I think we will hear from Marie that Airbnb, you can implement a lot of rules on Airbnb as a host. So I think everybody can work on that so that we can continue doing that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next one, raised hand, it says Scott Marshall.
Hey, thanks a lot there. This is Scott Marshall, 28 Emerald Road. I just wanted to just kind of point out one thing that to the committee in general, just a thought to have, because I know this is really geared towards Airbnb and VRBO, which is vacation rentals by owner, and mostly for vacation rentals. I'm a real estate professional, and I do have some clients as well that are residents, and been in talks with them. And there's several that are really looking to strictly rent to travel nurses. So there is a short-term rental market as well that is really kind of geared towards first responders and travel nurses that are minimum stays of, you know, 3 months or whatnot. So as the conversations persist, you know, continue, I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that, you know, it's another kind of market that's hit. Maybe it's taxed differently because it's mostly first responders. I don't know how that falls into, you know, conversations that you'll have, but I think it's important just to consider aside from just the vacation rentals, especially when it comes to the revenue and things like that. Of course, nothing about the safety and any of those things, but just want to kind of throw that out there for a discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cameron Merrill.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot. Cameron Merrill, 2 Prospect. I am also a host in Nahant for about the past year. And I appreciate the fact that this committee's been formed. I think regulation on the Airbnbs and VRBOs is important, obviously for safety reasons. I just think it's important to also note that in the last year that I did this, most of our guests are family members of people that live in Nahant, people that used to live in Nahant and want to come back to vacation here. So I've seen some comments about loud parties and, you know, the people that just want to come and, you know, trash houses and things like that. It's not necessarily what's actually happening. And I'll save you the time now, but my goal as this process unfolds is to get some statements from some of my previous guests that have been really emotional about their opportunity to come back to Nahant, spend their holidays here with their family, without having to drive to an airport hotel or spend, you know, $675 a night at a boutique in Marblehead. So I think that that's important and something, a perspective that would really be helpful. But I appreciate all of your volunteering on this board or committee, and looking forward to participating. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. I don't have anybody else's hand raised. So if anyone else on the call is interested in speaking, just hit that button or unmute yourself and announce yourself. I do have a chat. There's a question in the chat. Can you speak to the nature of the complaints? I think regarding complaints that I've received or we've received here in Town Hall, are they issues that are already possible to address via existing bylaws and ordinances? Some are. Some complaints are, regarding parking or noise or speeding. Those are all things that, are somewhat, they're possible regardless of whether it's coming from an Airbnb guest or a Nahant resident. So for a lot of that stuff, we try to address them as best as possible. Obviously, if you're having an issue live and you should call the Nahant police station, if it elevates to something that would fall under their jurisdiction. But if it's days later or weeks later, what we try to do right now, and remember that we don't have any rules in place, is just to have a conversation with the host about, concerns that have come across, our desk, and they then are, most of the time I don't even have to ask. They're saying, thank you for letting me know. I'll make sure to keep my guests informed. I had a bad experience. I'm doing a better job already trying to filter out bad guests. Usually they're really responsive to those concerns, but there aren't any rules currently about off-street parking. There aren't. So if a property is rented out and they come with a lot of cars, it's kind of dependent on the situation as to whether they're parked illegally or not. So hopefully I answered that question. And that's it. I don't see anything else in the chat, and I don't have any other hands raised. So maybe someone on the committee could move to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. Wayne Wilson. Oh, wait a minute.
Seconded, Marie Hladikova.
Oh, what's that, Wayne? Oh, you're muted. In the chat, as I'm waiting for Wayne to unmute, in the chat, someone asked me to repeat the website, nahant.org. There, if you go under the committees, there's one there for short-term rental, and there's a link there to email the committee, which is strc@nahant.org. All right, so Wayne motioned to adjourn, seconded by Marie. I'll do your roll call for you. Wayne?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
Okay. See you next week.
You got it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.